Gotta be professional, man. Welcome back to World's Strongest Opinions, episode 49, with the return of Emanuel Pescari, coming off of a relatively fresh second win at World's Ultimate Strongman U105. Welcome back to the show, man.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure to talk with you guys.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be the last time either. We've got OSG coming up soon.
Yeah, true.
And I think you're the favorite to win.
I don't know. Everyone is saying that, so I will either have to prove it right or wrong. So I don't know.
Absolutely. Well, I think there's a reason everybody's saying that. I mean, you've been putting on some pretty dominant performances in the last year or so. I mean, world record holder in the log. I mean, crushing Austria's strongest man. I mean, that was massive. And now two-time world champion, as we say in the U.S., that's nothing to shake a stick at.
Yeah. And Europe's not to forget.
Oh, yeah.
Europe.
All right. Yeah.
It was a dominating performance. I like the OSG poster they put out recently with you at the top with your arms outstretched. And everyone was like, are they making their own predictions with this poster?
Well, I mean, there's been a bit of a trend set with World's Strongest Opinions and the World's Strongest State, or what is it called? I'm messing that up now. The Strongest State.
America's Strongest State.
America's Strongest State. Sorry, I'm trying to say World's Strongest State. But yeah, I mean, predictions have been making the rounds, man, and it wouldn't be surprising that Lynn has got his own favorites to win. I mean, I don't think he's going to favorite anybody on the floor, but I mean, I'm sure he's got some people in mind that he expects to be on the podium too. So,
yeah, I think so, and I think he heard now or got somehow the information that I won Ultimate World Championship again. So I think that's also in the favor of mine.
For sure. How's training going? I mean, obviously you just like smoked a 181 kilogram log like it was nothing. So, I mean, your press is obviously strong as ever.
Yeah, that's funny though, because from last week Tuesday until this Tuesday or Monday, I had really huge issues with my right knee for some reason, and I don't know why. And it was so hardcore that I couldn't fully bend, so I couldn't really squat down. Also, I couldn't really dip, because always when I dipped down and I had this stretch reflex, my knee made a really strange things. So it felt like the bone was jumping inside, and I couldn't also even fully extend it, because on the back side of the knee there is a small muscle. This is called the popliteus, and this one was always on fire. So it was a really, really hardcore. And although I had these knee issues, I could still do this 181 log, which was also in a really calm state and a tired state, because I hadn't slept much. So I'm really happy for that, and I'm looking forward to today, because I will increase the weight today and try it again.
There you go. I mean, that's incredible to have a potential. I mean, hopefully it's not an injury, but niggles, as they say in the UK, and still hit that big of a log press is pretty insane, man.
Now, I spoke with, so I'm really thankful for the people I have around me. I spoke with my ex-coach, and he's calling himself expert of healing movement, doing a lot of corrective things. Coach Andreas Leib, he's on Instagram. And so he gave me some things to do, like smashing my tibialis anterior, which like instantly helped. And I was also speaking with Shane German, so MSD Systems. He also gave me some movement prep for the training, for especially glute med activation.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, it's like I have new knees, like both of them, not only the right one, but also both. They feel really, really great. I still have to work a bit more on it, but I'm so happy and I'm so thankful for that. So shout out to both of them and really appreciate the help.
Yeah. So when you said the tibialis anterior, you do like dorsiflexion
Yeah,
with the
but
toes.
I was smashing it, so I was standing or laying on a foam roller and working from the
Oh, I see.
knee down towards the foot, and always staying on really tender spots and moving
Hmm.
around my foot, so flexing and extending the foot.
Gotcha.
And this was like really, really horrible, but
Yeah, I can
it
imagine.
helped like instantly, it
Yeah.
helped instantly. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been having problems with, we're pretty sure it's my biceps femoris, which also crosses the backside of the knee. And it'll tighten up, and I can't extend my knee all the way either because that's so tight. But I think I've been finding that there's a little bit of the antagonist side of my leg. I think my psoas is actually causing that to tighten up too. So I've been doing a whole lot of wall stretches and hip
Yeah.
mobility, and so that I can move.
Sometimes it can also be that like the opposite muscle, like the quad, has some issue, and most of the time it's like one hot muscle always in the quad is the rectus femoris. So this one is either too weak, or the tension is like way too high.
Right.
So maybe to look also on that one, might help too.
Yeah, I think that's why the wall stretches are helping, because that gets that all the quad muscles, the psoas. Yeah. But I feel your pain there, because I've been dealing with that for years. And just like every time I think that it's good, it'll just out of nowhere just start bothering me again.
Yeah, and it's with my knee. It was like last year I had the same, like before Austria Strongest Man. I had again for like 2 weeks huge knee issues, and I fixed it again, and now it was good for quite some time. I still had some issues with the medial ligament, where it felt like it's popping a bit every time when I'm around 90 degrees of knee flexion.
It's really similar to what I'm dealing with.
Yeah, but now after Worlds, so after Ultimate, last week it got somehow worse again, and so I hope now finally I can fix it for real.
Right. Yeah.
But we'll see. There's always something I'm working on.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing better than a little rest too. So I assume you take like a week or something off before competition. I think it's pretty standard for most people.
Yeah. Well, most of the time I'm training like Tuesday, maybe Wednesday the last time, and it's like semi-heavy or just more like a lighter session, and focused on skills and on speed and stuff like that. But after the few days, I'm taking rest and I'm trying to get as much recovery in as possible.
Sure. I take an entire week off and do nothing before competition. That's because I'm old, though. When I was younger, I would train. I would continue lifting light for till like Wednesday, like you said. But now I just need more recovery.
Yeah. Age is a factor which you have to consider, and I'm feeling that too, though. If I compare to now, like 6 years ago or 5 years ago, even, I really have to watch out a lot for my recovery, because if I'm overshooting just a bit, it's 2 weeks of training is like really shit, or not that good, and I have to wait until I'm recovered again and I can push a bit harder in training again.
Yeah. How old are you, Emanuel?
33.
33.
Nice.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, you got a lot of years left in you. I'm almost 12 years older than you. So.
That's crazy.
That's really crazy, yeah.
But it is, I mean, also too, I think for you all especially, like once you get to lifting that heavy of weights, like your body still knows how heavy the weight is, even though you've gotten stronger. So it's like that recovery time. That's why it's always like, it's crazy to me seeing some people with like leading up to like OSG last year and everything, we're still like doing dynamic effort with like 500 pounds on the bar and like bands and everything, like even the week of, and you're like, that's a lot of weight. Like even no matter how strong you are to be doing like right up to competition. So it makes sense. Like now, especially at your caliber, like you have to be so much more careful. Everything,
Yeah.
which is crazy because you've recovered from your hamstring injury. How have those been doing?
Feeling pretty nice, really, really good. I can go in a huge stretch. I can load them quite properly, and I have no issues at all. The funny thing is, the second day at the Ultimate, so where we had a team competition, we had a loading race, and on the way, I brought a sandbag or a keg there, 90 kilo or 100 kilo. On the way there running, I had no issues, but running back without anything, I strained just a little bit my right hamstring again, but it was nothing major, so just like a normal pull. But other than that, they are feeling strong on stones, on deadlifts, so I'm really, really happy for that.
That's good. You got to give Darren stiff competition since he's going to be there too.
Yeah.
I'll be happy if I'm middle of the pack right now. I have not. So I went almost a whole year without training any strongman. I was not training heavy or anything. I was just throwing. So, and then I got the invite sort of out of the blue. I wasn't expecting an invite, and I said, "Screw it, let's go. It's going to be what it'll be." 12 weeks of training without any lead up to it. So should be enough. We'll find out.
But what I saw your training so far looks good. So
Yeah,
you're getting close to competition weights or heavy weights.
Yeah, I think it's all doable. It's gonna come down to who's the fastest, right?
Yeah, for sure. On many things, but like for the deadlift ladder, I don't really think so because the ladder is quite heavy.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if you pull the 800-pound, the last bar, you're going to be sitting super well no matter what time you post.
Yeah, for sure. Especially because it's also a 3 meter specialty kabuki deadlift bar.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So this will be a bastard, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's a heavy deadlift in a medley for U105. I mean, that's a max for a lot of top 105 guys in the world, or it's very close to. It's 95% or more.
So, especially though that long bar, though the 3 meters, like because if you jerk it too fast off the ground, that whip at the top is just like a wild thing. Especially once people start hitching to lock out, the bars the plates are just bouncing. Like
I've not pulled on it. Is it anything like the Mammoth bar, John?
Yeah, it's like the Mammoth bar, but I'd say slightly whippier than. I only use the V1 Mammoth bar.
Well, the V1 was pretty whippy.
Yeah, so it's up there, especially with 800 pounds. It's going to be. I suspect the end plates won't leave the ground until the bar's like right below your knees, and then it's just going to whip up. And if you're not controlling it, like it almost jerks you right back down at the top once you've like hit that. So it's always exciting though. The Mammoth bar was so fun to play on. Everything. I'm like,
but I'm with you. Like I agree. The last time I pulled on the Mammoth bar. I mean, I pulled, I don't know what it was in kilos, about 835 pounds raw, but it was just that bar. It was a max. But the time before that, the oscillation killed me. Absolutely killed me.
I will say it's a good Zercher bar because of how long it takes to get off the ground. You can wedge under there really nicely. So if anyone has one,
you mean Zercher, like actually, like from
the floor,
the floor. not like most of us human people do it to the lap.
True, you have enough whip that you could probably whip it up to the lap.
Just do like
a
the
real
John
Zercher deadlift,
Do the John Haviland, just throw it up and just catch it in your arms.
Oh, the Grimmick drop thing that people have done. What's his name? Lucian Silvator, the Romanian guy. He was doing the Grimmick.
He did that too.
The Saxon bar or something, or the Ends of Farmers thing. So I was like, that drop always makes me nervous. Just catching something with your like right in the crook of your arm.
Yeah.
But
I'm like,
but Darren just said you know Tom Haviland, or
yeah.
Doing that too, like with 180 or 200 kilos of from the floor, ripping the bar and catching it in Zercher style. And now I saw he's playing around with catching it again in the double overhand grip.
I don't understand. Like that's, and actually I called him John Havlin. Yeah, Tom Havlin. Yeah, dude, I don't know how he's doing that much weight double overhand and throwing it like that. I don't know any Olympic weightlifters that can do that without a hook grip.
No, I don't.
It's insane.
Yeah, his hands are massive though. He is like a substantial guy and everything. It's weird though because he was really prolific for a while, and then he now it's like a private account stuff, so not everyone sees it. But his things were wild up there. It's been great. You showed your kid was zerchering, so we will shout that out.
He was really funny because he was seeing me and also my wife, because my wife had recently her first strongwoman competition in Austria, and so she had a Conan wheel in her competition. And we trained with Zercher carries and yoke Zercher carries. And he saw that, and he saw me many times doing Zercher squats or Zercher Jeffersons or stuff like that. And we have this power stair T-handle. And he went by himself to that, grabbed underneath in a Zercher style and stood up with it. And after, I don't know, a few days ago, he was calling for his barbell because we bought him this small barbell with 2.5 kilos or so. And he said, he wants the barbell. And after he showed like that, and so my wife put it in his elbow crooks, and he was really happy to do that. And he was showing us, and he's always saying, he wants to do that. He wants to do that. So he's really, really crazy.
That's amazing.
That is so good. I was like, gotta train him young, get him into that.
Yeah, it's really nice because he's always with us. So he's with me or with my wife, and we are always training, and he's always there too and trying stuff. Like now, I posted yesterday, or when he was stepping on some small chair, grabbing the rings, letting go from the chair and just holding on the rings, swinging forward, swinging backwards, and stepping again on the chair, and holding all the time his body in the air on the rings. So that's crazy. You know?
How old is he?
Today is 19 months.
That's incredible.
Oh man, when you said 19 months, I was like, that is so young.
Yeah, I was expecting like he's like 2.5, 3 years old.
No, that's why I'm saying he's really wild.
That's good, man. He's going to be a great athlete when he grows up. Got the foundation.
That for sure. But we are not pushing him to anything, so we are letting him decide what to do, what he will want to do. So that's up to him.
Yeah, when they're little like that, they want to do whatever dad does. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, that's good though, give them the freedom then, because you see some of these kids who their parents obviously wanted them to be really competitive from a young age. So you're like what is it? There's the girl on Instagram who her parents had her doing like Olympic weightlifts, and she was like one of the first kids to like clean and jerk double body weight at like 9 or 10 years old.
This is this Rory.
Rory something.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. But I'm more the opinion, and my wife is the same, and it also fits with strongman, because we are more like, the broader his base of skill is, the better he will be later on when he will specialize, you know. And the same is for strongman. The more skills you can accumulate with different kinds of sports or different kinds of movements, the better you will be after, when you're going like to specialize and to really prep for just one competition, because you really can focus only on a few movements, and you have so many possibilities to solve some skill issues. If you, for example, need to extend on an atlas stone, but you don't have the force, or I don't know, there are many possibilities how you can get better after, you know. But you need at the beginning a broad base.
Yeah, we talked about that a few times on the show. I think strongman's finally starting more overall. We're starting to see athletes branching out to other sports to get assistance, where there was a time where everything was just strongman, right? Just train strongman. And especially with throwing now, starting to see a lot more people reaching out to Highland Games throwers, right, or track and field to learn to throw better. I've been training with a sports performance coach, trying to improve on athleticism. I've been doing like a little bit of CrossFit, right? A lot of conditioning.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I think there's a lot that can carry over to strongman that traditionally the sport has just really overlooked. And I mean, it's a multi disciplinary sport. So we need to be looking outside of just strongman, and it's how we're going to get better and stronger. And I mean, and athletes are getting stronger. I mean, the women especially have been just blowing the sport up lately.
It's crazy. Yeah,
it is crazy.
Yeah, that's why I like the idea and the things Dennis Kohlroos does in Germany and including Austria and Switzerland, because he has this kind of strongman villa or strongman castle and the Iron Jungle, where it's basically a strongman camp for a few days. And of course, most of the focus is on strongman. But like in the Iron Jungle, there were also guys, competitive and also like educational guys from arm wrestling, from Highland Games, from some other stuff. There was a bow and arrow, so to shoot with them. So. And he's including all them there, and you can go and speak with them, listen to seminars from them. And like I was speaking with a guy from the Highland Games, and he was showing us, the right technique, how to throw a weight over bar. And it's just, it's really helpful because it can help your technique and your skill so much more. And it will make you just a better athlete, but you will have to be willing to be open and to listen to that and to implement it in the end too.
Yeah, 100%, man. I started working with Highland Games. Well, I started throwing this year too, but I started working with a Highland Games athlete several years ago to learn how to throw. And because you still see guys that I feel like they're wasting so much energy swinging the bags back and forth, right? And Highland Games, typically you see them swing it once and they're exploding, right? They're not wasting energy. And then that improved my bag throws tremendously.
He told me, for example, on a Hafthor's world record, that it was all or almost all without any proper technique.
Yep. Oh, it's terrible. When you actually look at it, he's one of those guys that just swings it up and down, right? That's wasted. I mean, he could probably throw it 23 feet, I'm sure, if he learned proper technique. Yeah.
So just this, if you're imagining that, that's crazy and mind-blowing. And now just transfer it to your abilities, so you can get also so much more out of yourself, just 100%. By improving a better technique.
Yeah. And I'm kind of a firm believer too. Like I mean, again, I've been training now I've been competing for 15 years, going over 15 years now. I don't even train the events as much as I used to. There's some events I just don't train anymore because I don't need to, because I know the form, and repeating it isn't helping me get stronger because I've got weaknesses that just, training the events is not helping me overcome. So yeah, I found a lot of benefit again, training with a sports performance coach versus a strongman coach. Like I know strongman. I don't need somebody to teach me strongman. I need somebody to teach me to be a better athlete, right? Yeah. And so I think like as athletes, it's, especially higher level athletes, being cognizant of what your weaknesses actually are and finding the coach that's going to help you overcome those is probably far more important. Not saying they're bad, like anybody's going to a bad coach, but I think there's a lot to be learned out there still for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing, this is what I started to focus on now recently a lot more, especially reading and hearing podcasts about it and stuff like that, is just flexibility work, And I saw this especially after I forgot his name, but he Atlas Power Shrug. He was on the
Yeah.
show. So
He doesn't have a name.
with. Yeah.
We learned that. We had him on here. He doesn't have a name.
Okay.
Atlas.
So he was or he is working with
Lucas Hardy, Range of Strength.
Yeah, Lucas Hardy.
They're actually coming on the show on Wednesday, both of them
Oh,
together.
nice.
So that's going to be real fun.
So I saw after his Zerka manhood lift, or how it's called.
Yeah,
one of those.
So this
from the ground,
stiff leg. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like 140 kilos or something.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Insane. And I was like, okay. So after reading and studying this a bit further with flexibility work, I was like, okay, maybe I need a bit of help myself too to implement these things into my training and everything. So I started now also to work a bit more with Lucas. So I'm in his membership program and trying to improve my flexibility as well, because I do think really we will get a lot more out if we are more flexible, and especially a strongman. The number one thing is guys who have their barbell here, on a clean and press or axle or something like that. This means your mobility just sucks,
Yep.
And if your flexibility isn't good, you can't be mobile, and you can't be stable as well. So
100%.
That's what I'm working now too. Yeah.
I think also lack of mobility leads to higher rate of injuries also. Yeah. I mean, I know I tore my bicep when my mobility was terrible. But yeah, I mean, flexibility is huge. And I try to spend some time on mobility, but I probably should spend more time too. I mean, I'm definitely not Atlas Shrugged mobile. Not even close.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Or John doing behind the back curls.
Yeah, I can't do that either. That's
I don't know.
Someone told me that someone was like, you need to work on your mobility. You're pushing your hips through too much. They were like, that shows your signs of immobility. I was like, okay, I'm glad we've gotten to the point where this is still me somehow demonstrating a lack of mobility.
Okay.
They're like, you're pushing your hips through too much. That shows you don't have the thoracic mobility for it. I was like, okay, I guess it's nice that we're getting to this range of things. But I think that's why Lucas Hardy's thing of rather than calling range of motion, range of strength is so important, because it is that idea. You realize how many athletes that if you get to the point of you're not managing hydration well and you're immobile, you don't want it the first time your arm to be fully extended is because the weight's pulling it there, because you never actually go past here. Or even with the hamstrings, you realize there are some people who you can never get your leg fully straight unless there's severe load. And it's if those muscles are tight, that's just
that's how muscles tear too, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, that's exactly why my bicep tore, because I wasn't mobile enough, and it was weight that overextended a tight bicep, distal bicep tendon, and off it came.
Yeah. But it's neat seeing you doing that. Because I actually wanted to mention that in the show. It's funny to watch guests talk to each other then, or seeing that, because I think it's Jacob McBride and I were talking about it recently, that we were saying for a long time in strongman, it was enough to be kind of the cycles it goes through of some being super athletic. Then for a while it was the age of the static monsters, and now we're getting athleticism and explosiveness. But what can set you apart is like that mobility you're saying of a press. Imagine how much energy is wasted right there. It's kind of you all were saying with the throw, when you watch people with a 50-pound bag yanking it back and trying to get bigger and bigger swings, you're that's actually energy you're just wasting at that point, that you could just, if you just conserve that and just launch it.
I guess go ahead,
if you're looking a bit in the past, from where strongman started with the circus artists and stuff like that, I was trying to get into a bench press now for quite some time, even since last year. And because I find it so crazy. Back, I can remember exactly 1914 or so, Arthur Saxon did the official record in the bench press with 168 kilograms.
Insane.
So that's insane. Yeah. And they hadn't steroids. So,
Right.
how is that possible? And one major thing these people they were flexible like no one else. It's
Right.
really crazy. Gymnasts maybe are that mobile and that flexible, or circus artists, but they are not that strong in those positions. But Arthur Saxon or other guys back from the early 1900s, they were like insanely and incredibly flexible and also strong in those end ranges. And I think if we're going kind of back to those things, we will be able to push our performances and the numbers what we set until now even higher.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the reason that the bent press, essentially, you are making the press easier by bending over, right? And so mobility and flexibility enables you to get into more optimal positions and range of motion to press more weight. I mean, if you look back, even Big Z, even though he was a very rotund human being, had great thoracic mobility on his presses. I mean, he was essentially doing a standing incline press, right? Which which is an optimal position to press that, a large amount of weight.
Yeah. And for the bench press, it's really, really important to be flexible in every plane of motion, because you have rotation, you have lateral flexion, you have normal flexion, you have extension from the shoulder. So it's really crazy, and it's all about, in a bench press, it's all about leveraging the weight and to find the center of gravity from the middle of the weight, and you want your elbow to lie all the time on your body, so you don't have to actively press, because after a certain weight you won't be able to press it anyway. But therefore you have to be able to go into these really crazy positions to be able to leverage the weight always in the center of gravity.
Right. Yeah, which is impressive in and of itself, to have that level of flexibility. Because I know I've read, people have, everybody that can't do something has always got something negative to say, right? And they'll always say, like, well, the bench press is cheating or whatever. Well, let's see you get into that position.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Our friend Mike,
as long as the weight goes from point A to point B, it doesn't matter somehow.
That's right. Especially in Strongman. Unless of course they specifically say so in the rules, right? But our friend Mike Idala, oh God, I always screw his name up.
Idala.
Mike Idala. He's been doing some of the stuff. His mobility is ridiculous. He's done, what I think could be considered unofficial two-hand press anyway, I think is what he calls it, where he'll clean and press a barbell overhead, reach down, grab a kettlebell, right, clean it. And what did he do? Like 300? It was about 160 kilograms.
Yeah, because it was overhead, like
total weight.
Yeah, which was insane. Yeah, because it was this huge kettlebell, like 77-pound kettlebell, and like 315 in the bar or something.
Oh no, I think his kettlebell was much heavier than.
Oh, maybe something. But that's the crazy part.
I can look, but
watching him pass those weights back and forth, because he was just like fooling around recently with like 185, just tossing it between hands overhead. It's like, I don't know many people who can like just do that in general with one hand, much less but it is that mobility and that flexibility. If you think, of course, Atlas would love it if top level strongmen tried to do that. What is it? The Arthur clean and press, the one that's behind the back, where you like bounce it up your back and then like press it. But it's interesting to have him and people like that who talk about like the golden age of like natural strongman and stuff, because a part of it, there is some limiting belief. Like, it's interesting how many people will just like shut something off. They're like, oh, I'm just not good at this, so they don't do it. And you're like, very few people are naturally good at something without working at it. And oftentimes people will just be like, they're like, oh, I just can't do that, or I can't clean and press, or I can't do a front rack position. I was like, very few people could just do a front rack position with muscle of like without working on it. and stuff. So it's, I think
You
that's why
definitely-
kind of starting young helps.
You definitely can't with that attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people do all the time. They'll be like, "Oh, I just don't have the genetics for this."
Yeah.
I'm like, some of the top level people, there are people who can get up there who don't have the good genetics for it. Like, it takes a ton of work and stuff. Like, how many people have we talked to that, like, you're not built for that, you just do it?
Yeah.
And everything.
As Jacob McBride so astutely pointed out on the show, the people that say they can't and those that say they can are both usually right.
Yeah. Because it's amazing to see what's possible out there. And it is like, it's interesting to watch it like help your performance of stuff, of being able to get into those leveraged positions and stuff, or even working on uncomfortable movements like the Zercher and everything, how much that helps your extension and everything, working on that explosiveness of being able to do these like awkward motions rather than sometimes like at this point, like Darren was saying, you can train the events all day long and stuff, but then like, how do you hone in on these specific things and stuff? Because like Atlas stones are fun and all, but like, it's nice to be able to do accessories and stuff that can translate over to that and stuff really well. I'm still waiting for the day that you Zercher from the floor. If you ever do, I was like, just
I'm trying. Like, I just can't get in there.
I don't have the mobility to either. I've tried. I can get the bar to about right there.
Yeah, me too.
But
I'm trying.
That's also, I think, what's so neat about Lucas Hardy's method is that idea of weighted stretches. Because for very many people, I think for the longest time, we actually have talked in previous episodes, a lot of doctors and a lot of rehab people, they're working with the general population. So they'll like stretching, they'll talk about like, oh, this will be a really good stretch. And if you're not a well-muscled person, just your torso hanging over is going to be a substantial stretch. But for most people, it's like, if your body is used to being able to lift 300 plus kilos in that range of motion, of course, your torso is not going to be enough to pull your hands to like palm the floor or anything. So it's interesting to think like that.
That's also the thing, though, because we were speaking about the hamstrings before. That's also one thing about rehab, because like the knee issues what I had or the rehab with my hamstrings, we are not normal people and we have to accept that. So that means like normal rehab doesn't really fully work for us. So you have to go to some point where there is discomfort, maybe there's a bit of pain, but you have to load those or this range of motions, which you are able to go to, and after to come out again safely. But just doing some body weight stuff or some maybe, I don't know, passive stretching or something like that, or not doing anything won't help you and won't heal the tissues faster. It might take even longer, because they are not getting any nutrition. There's no blood flow. The waste products can't go out. So it might take even longer, and maybe scar tissue will build up there and the muscle or the structure will just get not healed as good as it should. And you might have some issues later on, But I tried everything, especially like I tore my hamstrings on Saturday on the 230 kilo stone, what I tried to lift. And this was mostly because I was dehydrated and warm up was already not, it was half an hour between attempts. So from 215 to 230. And just all the time in the sun, so I was sweating as hell and just dehydrated. So everything what is not convenient for a world record attempt. And on Monday and on Tuesday, I still tried just to walk and to try to walk as far as I can and as normal as I could, because I couldn't really walk normally. But after on Wednesday, I started already to train. I started to do some Jefferson curls. I started to do leg curls, banded leg curls with a BFR band around my legs. And I tried everything what I could just to improve the range of motion and also to load it at the same time. And it took me a few weeks and I was back again there.
I like that when because a lot of people are saying like, we can't wait to see you get back into it, and you're like, no, I'm already back into lifting, because it is this like, for me, tearing my meniscus in my right knee, the most painful days I had was, of course, that day. But the 2 days after, like talking to doctors, I got really scared and was like, I don't know. And then after talking to the orthopedic person, it was like, well, like, do rehab and stuff. Like, she was like, don't squat, don't do anything more than a quarter squat, don't do these motions. And I was like, the interesting thing is, it was most painful when I was doing less stuff with it. Like, yes, there is that discomfort of like moving it, but it's even more uncomfortable to just not be able to. Of like, one of my friends, she was saying she tore her meniscus and didn't need surgery. And she said it was almost 2 years before she could squat to parallel, or like squat below parallel. And I was like, if you never do something, it's going to be harder and harder to get to that point. Because you imagine spending months and months never going below parallel, or like
I had not yesterday, 2 days ago, was a woman here at my place. We did some a PT session, and mostly correctives, because she told me since 12 years she can't squat more than 90 degrees. So knee flexion more than 90 degrees wasn't possible for her since 12 years, or for 12 years already. And everyone where she was told her, yeah, you have to live with that. You can't do much. Just stay in that range and look to be pain-free. And it took us 1.5 hours with tests, with different kind of correctives, with different kind of exercises and stuff. And at the end, she could fully squat down, like really ass to grass, without any pain, without any restrictions at all. She was like, at the end, she was sitting in a ass to grass squat, looking at me like, what the fuck just happened, you know? and even yesterday, I met her again, and she was like, I still can squat, you know, I still have no pain. And yeah, she's like really amazed and really happy, you know. But the thing is, you have to do some stuff to get better, you know. And even after, so I gave her some homework to do, of course, exercises and movements which she has to do to get the muscles strong again, especially around her knee, and to work the hips to work well. And if you're doing that, you will be able to progress, you will be able to get into a better range of motion, and you will get strong again, and you don't have to live with restrictions.
Right.
But people will. Like, that's the crazy thing. These self-imposed restrictions. I had several of my relatives, as they got older, started sleeping in recliners because getting out in and out of bed was too much strain. And like, some of them got to the point where they needed a recliner that could actually help stand them up. And you think you're never actually like working any of that squat motion. It's one of those things that like, and a part of it is like a lot of what we've been told by like the medical community and so many things is like, they don't realize that like, they'll be like, oh, the body adapts, it grows, it adapts under strain, like Wolff's Law and everything. All of your body can do that except for your knees and your back, apparently. Those are the two things that are somehow immune to like your body's ability to improve on those things. And the more you stay in that window of tolerance, people don't realize that like your window of tolerance will get smaller and smaller. Of like, it happens with physical things, but even briefly, to get political, you see people who, like, if you don't want to be offended or bothered by anything, you start like blocking everyone you disagree with until you get to this point where you have this like tiny range of comfort because you can't talk to anyone who you disagree with because you've steadily been like, here's my area of comfort. And it's the same with motion. If you think, well, going below parallel hurts, so I've stopped going below parallel. Going to 90 degrees hurts. Like, at this point, I don't even squat at all. Like, how many guys I know who have said like, oh, I hurt my back deadlifting 3 years ago, so I've just stopped deadlifting completely, and I have back pain all the time. I'm like, I feel like those things are directly connected.
I love that analogy, John, of how I mean, it's definitely a mind muscle connection, right? I mean, the neurological pathways, like you close them out, and yeah, I mean, a lot of it's probably fear based, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is also like I'm speaking sometimes with my best friend, and he is like, he's afraid to squat heavy or to deadlift or so, because what if something is popping or something is happening in his back? And I was like, dude, this was like now during the OSG prep for London, and I was like, dude, just last week ago, I started to squat again after my hamstring injuries, because squatting wasn't an issue. But I started like not that heavy, just to see, okay, if I can or if I can't. And on the first heavier sessions, I don't know what happened, but something popped in my back. You know, it felt a bit tender and stuff, but I did some movements to get looser again, and it helped. And when I told him that, he was like, "Yeah, but are you not afraid that you will get a disc bulge or something will happen, a discus prolapse or something like that?" And I was like, "No, sure, of course, there
The
always
risk is there.
can have. Yeah, the risk is there, and there can always happen something, but normally you won't, especially if you're starting slowly and you're progressing with time and you let the tissue adapt, because every tissue can adapt to every stimulus."
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, going back to risk too, that's the other thing. Like, there's nothing in life that can be gained without risk, right?
Yeah.
And it's whether it's with strength, whether it's like getting outside of your comfort zones financially, right? You can't make money without taking risk, right? I mean, that's my dog's making noise. He's got a lot of feelings. He wants me to be done.
Yeah.
Ready to go play. But yeah, I mean, you have to take risk in order to gain. Like, if you never take any risk, you're going to be stagnant in everything in your life, and you're never going to grow, right? And growth can't happen without being uncomfortable either, right? You have to get out of your comfort zone in order to grow. Otherwise, you're going to be stagnant. You're never going to get stronger. You're never going to learn anything, right? You're not going to make any money. Whatever it is in life, you got to take some risks.
But it is like a part of it is when so much of our culture and stuff in modern life is about avoiding discomfort, this like extreme that you just like won't do anything that's uncomfortable, but you will live in constant discomfort. Like, it's crazy how many people talk about like that example of like not being able to squat below 90 degrees. They're like, well, I don't do squats like that because it's uncomfortable. But then you realize you're uncomfortable getting out of a chair. You're uncomfortable getting in and out of your car. You're uncomfortable every day doing almost every motion, but you're avoiding this one thing because it's slightly more uncomfortable, but might make all of those things more comfortable.
But that discomfort is consistent and familiar.
Yeah.
That's their homeostasis, right?
That's again getting to be comfortable.
Yep.
Even if it's discomfort. So for them, going outside of that and trying to improve certain things, which might be at the beginning more discomfort, is for them already too much, because they rather stay in their, let's say, a pain out 2 out of 10 rather than go to a 3 out of 10 or a 4 out of 10, but just for a short period of time.
Yeah. I think a lot, I mean, going back to like the medical side of things is all the data that they use to make recommendations, again, is for average people. It's not for athletes. When I tore my bicep and had surgery, they didn't want me to move my arm. You get put in like a little, I don't know, I call it a robo arm, right? It's like the cuff that has a range limiter on it. And they want you to open your arm up slowly. And I started waking up like almost immediately. The lock was coming loose or whatever. And I was waking up with my arm fully extended within like a couple weeks post-op. Well, I think it was probably 3 weeks post-op. And so I started going in training both arms. Like, I mean, I was smart about it. I wasn't putting any strain on my biceps. So I was pressing out of the rack and dumping the bar. But the PA and my orthopedic surgeon were like, what are you doing? Like, we've got this other patient that is afraid to open his arm, and you're out here like lifting and all this stuff. But the orthopedic surgeon said, but the reality is we just don't know what the human is capable of, because we don't have any data beyond what we know. And so they always recommend doing the safe thing because, I mean, of course, there's a bit of liability, I think, on their end. They don't want to tell you to go do something that re-injures yourself, and then and then they're back and cutting you open, doing whatever. But obviously, the human body is capable of a lot. I mean, Tyler Young is, I think he said 40 days post-op, and he just pressed 180 kilograms or so. I mean, bench press, which is just, to me, is crazy. Post-op, distal bicep tear surgery. But I mean, it just goes to show like the human capability for recovery, and how resilient the human body truly is.
Yeah. That's really crazy.
It's tough though.
The thing is also, I think many people just don't have this belief, or I think their belief is just so minimal, So like for me, I don't know, I grew somehow up with this attitude of, okay, we as humans don't really have any limits, or at least not limits which we know we can go to.
Right.
And also I grew up with the thing, if I want to get better at something, I need resistance. It doesn't matter if it's in strength training. It doesn't matter if it's in speed training. It doesn't matter if it's in real life, if you want to grow with your character as a person. But you need to get somehow uncomfortable, and you need this kind of resistance to get better. So for me, it was always not if I can. It was always how much do I can do more,
right.
to get better. There is nothing which restricts me. There's always more and more, and I'm always looking, okay, I'm sure I can do more. I'm sure I'm capable of more. I can achieve more. So I'm not restricting myself with any limiting beliefs.
Yeah. And I think too, I mean, we kind of touched on self-limiting factors as well. And I think even strength sports are a pretty good, demonstrate really well how as athletes progress, I mean, all it takes is one athlete to overcome the quote unquote impossible. And then suddenly more athletes start doing it too. So there's a mental game involved in overcoming these limits that are self-imposed. And sometimes there's a bit of a hive mind, right? Where the population in general just, has agreed that the things are possible. Like the 500 kilogram deadlift was believed impossible. And now, I mean, we've had two people lift at least 500 kilograms. Well, I mean, I think Jamal Browner has pulled like a sumo, right?
I think he's gotten pretty close. Yeah.
I think he's gotten pretty close. There's several people now that are, they're going to, I mean, that world record is going to be broken soon, right?
Oh, I think maybe he did 502.
I think he did do 502.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he tried after 510 recently. But that was a bit too much.
He tried 5'10" like twice after doing the Giants Live thing in Cardiff. I was like, and that's the crazy thing is you realize that it's interesting to see once you challenge that belief system. Like for the longest time, that was believed impossible to have a sub 4 minute mile, which to me is physically, that sounds impossible. But like as soon as one person did it, it's crazy. They said the next year, like 14 more people did it. You're telling me that it took decades for one person to do it, and as soon as you did that, of like,
it's the realization that it's possible, right?
Yeah,
and I think, but for that single individual, like they just didn't believe, right? Mm-hmm. They believe anything's possible, and they're the ones that went out and proved that. And sometimes, I mean, it takes those kind of, I don't know, special individuals to prove the impossible is actually indeed possible, and it opens that door up to a lot of people.
And you see that too of like my wife Andy and I, we really like watching like ultra running documentaries. There's the Barkley marathons. That's a really good one about this. Like I think it's like you have 60 hours to complete it again, and it's 5 ultra marathons or something, or 5 marathons. It's like 100 miles or something, but it changes. And it's interesting that like you have these guys who just like think it's impossible. And some years no one will finish. And then there's been other years where you had one person really confident and 2 people finish that year. And another one is, I think it's called One More Mile out of Tennessee or something, where it's the same mile loop and there's no end to the race. It's just whoever quits running last.
Okay.
And I think this past year it was like 36 hours or something. They did like 100 miles because you have 20 minutes to finish each mile and you have to make that time. But if you keep going, and the guy who won, he sounds kind of like a crazy person because he's like, I just don't believe that I could die. And I don't believe that anything can stop me. And it's interesting because you watch everyone else kind of like panic and start to realize like almost everyone's out by 20 hours because the average human cannot move that long. And one of the guys who lasted a really long time, he just showed up that day not planning to run because he had done the year before and he didn't tell his wife. They're like, hey, like, do you want to sign up? And he's like, I don't know. All I have is a box of donuts and 2 bottles of water. Like, he thinks for a bit. He's like, yeah, I'll try it out. And he just like, I think he ran for 26 hours or something and then just like quit because he was like, well, I kind of like, it was fun, but I'm done. And it's crazy to think that like, it's interesting to watch people, those people who they're like, I don't think this is possible. Like, I don't like, they just don't, they'll have this certain idea of like, here's where my limit is. Cause so you'll see people who estimate and they'll get so close to their estimations. And the people who they're like, I don't know, I'll just see what I got. They go so much farther. And it's interesting to see like when there aren't those caps placed. Like, it's interesting when you think, I've seen how many strongman competitions have I seen where like, if the first person going does really terrible and bombs out on something, how easy it is for other people to be like, this is just too hard and stuff. Like, all you need is like on a deadlift attempt or some max event to have one person like fail it catastrophically, and suddenly everyone, they're like, this is too dangerous, or this is like too much.
Strongman sometimes is the opposite though.
Oh,
like
too, that does
that. We've had medleys where everybody's walking into it. I remember in Clash, the first Clash, we had the medley in the sand, and I think it was in everybody's head, right? Like, nobody's going to finish this because it was like 5 implements in, carry load, and they were all like super awkward. And the first person finished. Actually, in my heat, I had to go first or something, or second. I think I was second. The first guy didn't finish it. I finished it. And then everybody consistently, like each person after me, did better and better and better and better. Because they had the, that's the thing with Strongman. You get the opportunity if you're last to sit and watch everybody else do it and learn how to do it better, right? Yeah.
That's true.
And you just have a goal set after as well.
Right.
Okay, I have to beat this number.
Exactly.
And that ambition's key of like, you see it with you and so many top level athletes, that idea of like, there's always more you could do and stuff. Like, as soon as you're finishing OSG Europe, you're like, well, here's my next thing I'm going to do. And here's the next, like, here's the next event that I'll just like demolish. Cause you have had an amazing year. That's why when Darren and I were talking, we were like, we need to have him back on before OSG, because it is like, having just that pattern and everything, and realizing even with you of like, so many people will be like, oh, I just don't have the frame or don't have the size. Like, I'm not over 6 feet or whatever. It'll be like,
how tall are you, Emanuel?
Can't do it.
I'm 175 meters.
175. Okay.
So centimeters.
Wow. So you are short of me. I'm 184.
It's
185.
5'7", I think it's.
Okay.
Yeah. And that is like, the crazy thing is how many people I've seen use that as an excuse for like, that's why I'm not good at loading events, or that's why I'm not good at this. Like, that's why I can't do medleys and everything. And you think the more you limit yourself, the more you're going to be limited.
But it's silly though when people have like put those limiting factors on themselves, because there's great strongmen in the past, like Grant Higa, who's not terribly tall, but he overcame everything, right? I mean, his stone load, he still had to load stones to the same height at Worlds as everybody else, but I mean, he was shouldering them or pressing them up over onto the platforms. I mean, where there's a will, there is a way.
Of course, it's always like that. And the funny thing is, I would say that I'm trying my best. But the thing is also, this year was like not going as planned. always, because
Sure.
like for OSG, even for Austria's Strongest Man, I tore my calf slightly 3 weeks out. After for OSG, I had my hamstrings. For Worlds Ultimate, I had just 3 weeks of prep, because 1 week I was in Germany at the Iron Jungle, and there I fucked up my both elbows because I had to do arm wrestling, of course, with some guys. That's never a good idea for me.
You had to.
And it was all not really optimal, but in the bit amount of time what I had, I tried to give my best, despite of every bad circumstances or whatever. I tried to do as much as I could and as good as I could without destroying myself even more, but trying even to get better, with my hamstrings, with my arms, with my calf and whatever.
Yeah.
So it's never going to be perfect.
No,
so
it's not. And and I've sort of over the years, like the traditional training style is, I mean, periodization is pretty common. Structured training, like to me, doesn't really make a lot of sense for the vast majority of athletes. If you're not a full-time athlete, there's got to be some, what am I trying to say? You can't be expected to go into the gym and hit a certain number of reps at a certain percentage, like any day of the week, because again, if you're a full-time athlete, your life is to be recovered, eating right, sleeping well, and training. But when you've got family, a full-time career on top of it, right, and just life in general, like there's got to be some understanding that you just can't go at 100% every single day, and you can still make a lot of progress by not trying to hit specific numbers on any specific day, and understanding when your body is ready and in an optimal state. Like take advantage of that, because it's a perishable state, right? When you're under recovered, right? You haven't eaten well, you haven't slept well. You need to take some time and like don't skip the gym per se, but take a deload. Like structured deloads don't make sense to me for the dynamic life that most of us live. So that's my 50 cents.
It's difficult with structured deloads. They make sense somehow, just to get a routine in and to have some kind of phasic in there, or of phases in there. But like also I'm following kind of bit of structured deloads, but not like, okay, I have not to deload or not. For me, it's like mostly auto-regulated. So when I feel like I can push, I'm pushing. When I feel okay, I can't, I'm not pushing. So sometimes I'm like, I have sessions where I'm really dead and I'm feeling, okay, if I'm pushing now, this will just be bad and will take my recovery time even longer. So I'm just going through the motions, doing a bit of weight and trying to get a bit of activity through in and just get through the movement. And that's it. I'm letting my body recover.
Yeah. And I don't like structured deloads anymore. I used to do them a lot, and they would piss me off because I would feel really good. And like today I'm like on a structured deload, I'd be like, I could probably hit a PR today and I'm wasting it. I'm wasting it deloading. Whereas like regular training, there's days where I'm like, man, I just really need to deload today. I'm going to take a deload.
True. Listening to your body is key, because there is that, like, our bodies work in waves and everything. Like, and I think sometimes like we've talked about, people at the beginning, I think have to have those like super hard set schedules to like build up the discipline. But you think if you get to a certain point, like you do want to listen to your body. And I think we've mentioned him several times in the show, but like Atlas has posted about like being a dad and having a job, he can't afford to like just waste time training. So it's like he'll talk about like, here's what you have to do. All I have is 45 minutes between my after work and like dinner with my family. Here's how I'm going to make it work. And I think sometimes that can be super important, is thinking a lot of these athletes, like it's about training smart and efficiently with the time you have, because you can't afford to, like, most people, if you have a busy life, a family, client, even if you're a coach and like with clients, you can't necessarily afford to just spend 3 hours every day in the gym when there's like so many things going on. So sometimes it can help to think of like, what can you afford to do right now and what's a waste of time?
Exactly.
Because it's tough when you have kids and stuff. Like, you want to make sure you're spending time with your family and everything too. There can be that balance, or just make your gym time with your family, which is also, I think it's a good way to do it.
Killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah.
Well, hey guys, my dog is gonna, like, I don't know, he's about ready to chew my face off.
This might be the closest we've got to an hour in a while.
Yeah, right. And I really have to go train. So, Emanuel, any final words coming on today?
Just don't limit yourself and push forward, because there's always more to push.
Yeah, 100%, man. It's always a pleasure having you on. I imagine we're gonna be doing some interviews at at OSG as well, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you in person in December.
Yeah, me too. Hopefully, both of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm thinking about it. It's gonna be tough with the flights, but I'm still keeping it in my back pocket.
All right, man.
Yeah,
we will be all again, I guess. So I will be with my family and with Leonidas.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
That's so great.
It's gonna be great. Train hard, dude. I know. I mean,
too.
we're in your corner, man, to take the title.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
All right,
much
man.
Appreciated. Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and follow us on Instagram for updates. We'll catch you next time on World's Strongest Opinions.